calling this meeting to order. Welcome to the Moala River School District Business Meeting. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay, moving on. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I would move that we remove the personnel report from the consent agenda tonight for discussion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussions? Want to explain it for us?
These are two sort of requests, or a request for two purposes. One, I want to make sure I get a chance to introduce someone to the board here this evening. There are actually two different introductions that will take place at two different spots in the agenda, but one of them as part of the personnel order. And two, Director Ellis has some information she'd like to speak to the board about. That's a last minute personnel order change, and give you some context on why the change.
Okay. So moved and seconded. Everybody in favor of removing the personnel report from the consent agenda for discussion, raise your right hand. Okay. Unanimous?
Thank you. So would you like me to dive into the personnel piece?
Sure.
Great. Director McNeil and directors, I have a special introduction that I'd like to make this evening, so you get a chance to put a name with the face. Our new athletic director, Mike Lord, is here tonight, and I just want to talk a little bit about his selection as our new athletic director. I couldn't be happier with the candidate pool we had. It was deep and it was competitive, and Mike clearly wooed the committee. He was one of three finalists, and then out of that finalist process, it was clear to me that he was the right person to bring on board. And so he brings 20 plus years of experience as an educational leader from the teacher leader standpoint. He's been a teacher leader in both Westland and Oregon City, where he was a coach, a leader of not only student athletics, but student activities as the activity director. My own son happened to be in his class at one point in time and had only positive things to say, as did all of his references. That Mike Lord is the kind of guy that people rally toward and rally with. That he's a can-do guy that has a vision for kids that is more than just athletics. It's about kids and character and academics. It's about all those same things that the Ideal Athletic Program embraced 4 years ago when the board took action to approve that comprehensive strategic plan. So I want to give Mike a chance to say hi and say a few words if he has any, and that way you put the name with the face in the personnel order. And after Mike speaks, again, Director Ellis has a couple comments about some summertime hires that she'd like to make. So Mike.
Good evening, board. And I wanted to let you know I'm super excited to be part of this school district. Meeting with Dr. Mann over the last couple of weeks, the vision that he has and this school district has for athletics and activities coincides with what I believe in full-heartedly that we can provide for our students. I believe that activities and athletics are a huge vehicle for student success in the high school. So like Dr. Mann said, I've been teaching for 24 years in the classroom. I've been coaching for 27. And just recently decided to pursue now the whole Ideal Athletic Program here at the high school instead of just individual sports that I've done. So I'm super excited. As of today, I've met almost with every head coach. I think 13 out of the 15 head coaches in the last 6-7 days to learn about the community. From Oregon City, I do have a perspective, but I need to learn what the perspective is from the individual coaches. And it's been great to hear the history of Moala High School, how things work, and getting ready to dive in. So that's kind of where I am today. And but I look forward to meeting all of you and working with all of you throughout the next years and working with that. So it's
Yeah, and again, Mr. Lord, like he's hit the ground running. Technically, his first day is for another 2.5 weeks, and he's already, dove in all the way and is meeting with coaches and sure appreciate. I interrupted board members though. It sounds like you had comments.
Already wearing the colors. And everything.
He's all the way in.
Wagons have been circled and we are going, because I only know really one speed. And I know that when talking to Dr. Mann, that the first day was, August, but that's not going to work for what we need to do. So our program. So.
I saw lots of great comments online about you.
Okay.
Everybody was piping in and there was a lot, pages and pages of.
Well, I'm a relational leader. I believe in relationships is the first step in creating them. So that's what we'll try to do.
Great.
So
Welcome.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And Director Ellis has a couple of details to share with you about some last minute changes that need to be made.
Yes, good evening, directors. As you may know, summer school started on Monday, and we had 2 last-minute withdrawals of instructional assistants that decided they were not going to be able to work for the summer. So thank you very much to Director Jackson for getting on the phone and making calls, and her site leads making calls. And we were able to get 2 replacement instructional assistants. So I first just want to thank everyone that's working in the summer programs. I mean, they give up time with their families and vacation time to come back and help the students even further here in the district. And I think it's really an important program, and I'm glad they're all here. But special thanks go out to Treve Green and Alejandra Perez for stepping up on the first day and saying, yes, I will come and work for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So I have on the personnel order tonight, I appreciate you pulling it out. We updated it yesterday because by the time you meet again, summer school is just about over. So I felt it was important to get these names in front of you this evening. So under extra duty assignments, you'll see there's an update July 10th, and Treve and Alejandra's names are listed there as late hires for summer school.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
So we still need to approve it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the personnel report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Nothing? Okay, all in favor, raise your right arm. Yes. We ever get Terry or no? Okay. Well, that was just the personal report. We need
Do we have
to,
minutes to approve?
yeah, we
stuff?
need to approve.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the rest of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Passed unanimously. Okay, next up, we have the 2024-2025 enabling resolution. And for those of us who are new on the board, this is an annual housekeeping procedure that we have to approve. We're responsible for updating and approving. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review it. Just, does anybody have any questions about it?
We have a brief overview for those of us who didn't
See it?
It should be in your packet, but it's basically going over. Let's see. Who's authorized to sign district checks? Talking about our second Thursday of each month is designated as regular meeting date. Our bank, our appointed auditor, the chief financial officer, computer share corporation trust. So it's basically authorizing the different parties that do different tasks for the
Okay.
district.
I move to approve resolution 2024-2025.001 for the Mohawk River School
Does it
District.
need to be read in?
just consulted. Historically, the board has read this record as a formal piece of business.
Which I can do.
So,
The resolution reads enabling resolution. This is a housekeeping procedure that sets up much of the day-to-day running of the district. As the July 11th, 2024 business meeting, it was, okay, never mind. That's housekeeping afterward. Item 1, the clerk or deputy clerk be authorized to sign district checks, pay salaries, related payments when due. Signature facsimile may be used in lieu of signature. Item 2, 7 p.m. the second Thursday of each month be designated as the regular meeting date of the Board of Education. Item 3, the Malala branch of Umpqua Bank be designated depository for all district funds. Item 4, Brown and Brown Northwest be appointed as the insurance agent of record for the district. Item 5, Polly Rogers and Company, PC, be appointed as the official auditor of the district. Item 6, the superintendent be declared the executive officer, clerk, and budget officer with authority to declare election results. Number 7, Andy Campbell be declared the chief financial officer and per policy, the purchasing authority. Number 8, the Malala Pioneer be recognized as the official newspaper for the publication of public notices. Number 9, the clerk or deputy clerk be authorized to pay routine and or utility bills to pay all bills for budgeted expenses as needed. Number 10, Superintendent Anthony Mann be authorized to offer contracts for hiring and filling positions as needed. The superintendent may officially accept resignations for the board, which will be brought before the board for affirmation. Number 11, the Oregon State Investment Pool be authorized to invest Malala River School District funds as they are available. Number 12, the Computer Share Corporate Trust be authorized as the trustee for the limited tax pension obligation bonds of the district. Number 13, Anthony Mann be designated as the authorized representative in regard to all county, state, and federally funded programs or consortiums that he be approved to spend these funds for the district. 14, the superintendent or his or her designee be the hearings officer for the district. 15, the superintendent and the chief financial officer be bonded, insured to meet the required. The following employee positions will be designated as confidential or supervisory in nature and therefore are excluded from the bargaining unit. Superintendent's executive administrative assistant, the board secretary, executive administrative assistant, HR, payroll specialist, technology supervisor, and facilities supervisor. 17, the substitute pay for teachers is $206.35 daily. Number 18, substitutes for classified employees will be paid step 1 of the lowest pay grade for the position or an amount equal to the state minimum wage. Number 19, the mileage reimbursement rate for district travel is at the current IRS rate per mile. 20, the student breakfast and lunch prices be established as elementary breakfast $1.60, elementary lunch $2.65, Malala River Middle School breakfast $1.85, Malala River Middle School lunch $3.20, Malala High School breakfast $3, Malala High School lunch $3.45. Adult breakfast is $3, adult lunch is $4.60. Milk is 75 cents. 21, the district adopts the other versus serve option when serving national school lunch program, breakfast or lunches to all students. The board will act as the local 22, the board will act as the local contract review board and has adopted the Oregon Attorney General's model public contract rules, OR Chapter 137, Division 046 through 049, and portions of the Oregon Department of Administrative Service rules governing public contract exemptions. OAR Chapter 125, Divisions 246 through 249. The Hungerford Law Firm be appointed as legal counsel in matters of district business. The law firm of Garrett Herman Robertson be appointed as legal counsel for the district in personnel matters. Madam Chair, so moved for adoption.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right arm. To approve the resolution 2024 to 2025.001. Motion passes. Thank you for reading. I was gonna ask you.
Saved by the Neil.
Okay, next up is recommendation for approval, copier lease. Mr. Campbell?
Chair, Vice Chair, you're doing a great job on your first.
Thank you.
official meeting. So you have two contracts actually that we're recommending to approve tonight. The first one's the copier lease. We renew the copier lease every 4 years. We choose Pacific Office Automation through a co-op contract. And for this next 4-year term, we were fortunate enough to only have an increase of $443 per year for the next 4 years, keeping the same amount of copiers. So we recommend that one. The second one is Oregon Outreach Agreement. Last August, you actually approved this contract under a 2-year agreement. This is an addendum to that final year. The increase is due to us adding 5 students to this program. So the cost went from $143,000 to $193,000. So we're recommending that one for approval as well. Happy to answer any questions.
I think Pacific Office Automation is pretty competitive.
Yes.
They're one of the largest. And then as far as the Oregon Outreach, do we count the number of students before we sign the contract?
Mhm. Yeah,
Or is it kind of, we have this many and then the kids can?
they're actually specific enrollments in the
Okay.
program, which is determined before the start of the school year.
To approve the copier lease with Pacific Office Automation.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Do I have a motion for the other contract?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the contract for the Oregon Outreach contract.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next up we have information and discussion, Walla River Middle School Capital Project Replacement Update.
Chair McNeil and directors, we want to just keep this as a regular spot in your agenda so that we're bringing information back to the board as appropriate to keep the public informed, keep the board informed around where we are with movement on the middle school replacement project. I'm losing track of time because there's so much moving already so quickly. So if I repeat things I've already updated you on, please forgive. But I think subsequent to your last business meeting, the following are all new actions that were taken. I'm really pleased with the feedback I've gotten about where we are as a district, that we are actually shortening up as many timelines as possible to be quick and nimble and move quickly. And because time, finishing on time and under budget is a commitment that we've made. The first key piece that I took to do was make sure we were working with the right attorney. So we've got legal counsel that's working with the district to make sure that the procurement language that we use in our RFPs is all aligned with state statute. And we posted an RFP to recruit a project management firm to come in and be effectively the owner's rep for the school district. That process had a number of applicants. It was narrowed down by an advisory group that included members of the board, members of the Citizens Bond Advisory Council, members of the administration, current parent in the district. And interviews with 3 finalists were held today. The final selection and determination has not yet been made. We expect, however, it will be made by the close of business tomorrow. So we'll be providing notice aligned with procurement rules and all of the public procurement processes. We'll be notifying the firm that we are going to select of our intent to award the contract. So we'll keep you apprised as that moves. In the meantime, we didn't wait for that process to be finished before posting our request for proposals for architectural services. So that is on the street, and we've seen, gosh,
There's 15, at least 15 firms.
15 firms. At this point, and I may ask for another individual's help. So let me come back, if I may, come back to that question. Because there's one thing I know for sure, and that is that I am not expert in these domains, right? I'm smart enough to, I think, bring people to the table that can really be helping my office make sure we're doing the right things and support the board's work. And so again, one of the first things that I did was reach out to other district superintendents who'd successfully passed capital bond projects and finished their projects on time and under budget. And I spoke with professionals, and time and again, a couple of names came to the surface for me. Gosh, if you can bring one of these individuals on as a contractor working for your office, Tony, they will bring you the skill set that you need. And Ron Stewart's name is one of those. In fact, his was the most consistent. And I want to introduce him. And so maybe Ron, if you could come up, because you'll have to answer some of these questions possibly. But Ron, just if I may, one of the many things I've come to appreciate about him already is that he understands school operations from sort of A to Z by virtue of his background and history. And right out of high school, if I'm not mistaken, Ron took a position as a custodian in a school district and moved through the operation of school facility management through a degree, bachelor's degree on in his own education, became a school district supervisor of facilities. And then I'm going to probably get the titles wrong, but eventually in his career, he was on the executive cabinet in the North Clackamas School District, managing as the capital projects manager in North Clackamas, north of $1 billion worth of capital projects, finishing on time and under budget. And one of the things that I appreciated about Ron in my first meetings with him was that humble guy, but he knows his stuff, and he's a competitor too. Because I heard, he's really proud of finishing on time and under budget. I keep coming back to that. And so it's our contract with Ron is through a firm that he is employed by. So we're contracting through a firm for time and materials. And Ron shared with me that his time may in some weeks be anywhere from 3 to 4 hours a week. And in other weeks, it might be a whole bunch more. And he's ready to do what it takes to make sure we keep our promise to the citizens of our community. I know for sure that if we didn't have Ron here and I was doing this, or Tony Tiano was doing this, that we'd get it wrong. We might be talented, but we're not that talented to have all those skill sets. So Ron, thanks for being on the team. The question of the RFP for architectural services, when that, maybe you can respond to that question, share a little bit more about your background, but we really feel like we hit the ground running. We're moving quickly. So anything else you'd want to say by way of introduction or the work that we're doing?
You're very generous with that. But yes, I told Tony I have probably the weirdest resume, from being a custodian, having 2 electrical licenses, to asbestos supervisor, to being a CFO and business manager, to vice president of Clackamas Community College even, and then assistant superintendent for North Clackamas Schools. But in that, it was always facilities focused, and went through 3 bond levies, Oregon City's bond levy with Oregon City High School and many schools, and then 2 bond levies in North Clackamas. And so, yeah, when you add it up in today's dollars, it's over $1 billion of projects I'm very proud of doing. And so I'd add to that, on time and on budget, and meeting all of our commitments is the other
thing we want to make sure we do too. So answer your question, July 2nd is when the architect proposal went out, and we're expecting them to return on the 19th.
So moving forward, in our reports to the board, administrative reports to the board about where we are on capital projects, I'm really going to be looking to Ron to be at your meetings when we have that as an agenda item out to report on. And again, we'll keep you informed as we go. I'm really, we've got communication strategies that Andrea's already, working on, and so with that, if there are other questions for Ron or myself, if not, I think really I just want to make sure that you had that update tonight, and no action, just keeping you informed, keeping the citizens informed.
I will just put out another vote of reassurance to the rest of the board. I've had the opportunity to work with Ron now over almost 2 full days this week. He's very organized and very good, and really happy that he's on this team to help us work through some of this bid proposal stuff. So anyway, thank you.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thanks for that update. Okay, next on the agenda is student education scorecard overview and preparation for 24-25.
You've all met, is back with us again here tonight from the East Coast time zone. I don't think he's facing any hurricane dangers outside that window. Brent has really stepped in and helped us move our process forward, both in mission, vision, strategic priorities, but most importantly at this moment tonight around the work with the scorecards and how do we measure our success. And as we get ready to move into our first full complete year with clearly newly defined mission, vision, priorities, and scorecards, I wanted Brent to be able to lay out for the board sort of a little bit of history about how we got where are we today, and what does the reporting cycle and data collection cycle look like for each of the scorecard items. So I'll turn it to you, Brent, and again, no action on this item, just an update and report.
Thank you, and I'm excited. Has the heat wave there, has that broken yet, or are you guys still under heat? Because I'm looking forward to get back up there to some cool weather. So I'm here in the Florida heat.
According to other states, we're not that hot.
Yeah.
But we were.
16 like it is in Nevada.
Wow. All right. So can you see the first slide that I have there, Molalla River School District, my presentation? Is that visible to all of you?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I have really enjoyed working with Dr. Mann and with your leadership team and your principals. Wonderful school district, excited about the improvement journey that you're on. And I just want to show you where we are, the work that we're doing, and where we're going. And as you can see, you started with your mission and vision, which led to your pillars and your goal statements. You've seen that already. That's been part of the work that you've done. And then in April, your team came together and each of your pillar champions presented where they were with their scorecard work. And this is how it was presented to you. This is the communication scorecard. There were slides for each of the 5 pillars that laid out the pillar, the measure, what the baseline was, the annual goal. What I did with some help is we put together this format to help you see all of the pillars, the pillar success, the annual goal laid out in a scorecard format so that you can see that the goal states, for instance, in the school, the very first goal with students, school culture survey tool will improve to 3.68 from a baseline score of 3.48. So we have that baseline data. We know at the end of the year where we want to be, where we want to move to. And that's your annual measure. I will try not to bog down too much here, but we call that a lagging measure. The reason we call it a lagging measure is it's the measure at the end of the year. It's similar as to going to your annual checkup with your doctor to find out how everything went over the year. That's the lagging measure. So we look at that annual measure for each of the goals under each pillar. This is your student pillar with your pillar success statement, and then your annual goals. And you'll notice that there's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 for progress monitoring that scorecard. So
Right.
yes.
Brent, forgive me. I think one of the screens, we've got it close enough to where, at least with my glasses, if I tip, I can read it. The other one's a little too far. Are you able to increase the size to maybe 150,
If
160?
if I do present mode, did it change it?
Just down in the lower right-hand corner of the slider, I think you can move it up from 100%. Oh,
Oh, let me try this. Let me see if it'll share. Where did it go? Because I just did present mode to try to see if it would get bigger. Well, we'll go back to screen 3 and see if I can raise that for you. That's a good idea. Is that better?
I think you'll
Oh, wait a
need to,
minute.
Different
Let me
screen.
share it. Is that better?
Yeah.
yeah, getting better.
Okay. So that is the start of the student pillar. MRSD will foster a safe, welcoming learning environment. You can see each of the annual goals there. This becomes a 3-page document. There's the students, the facilities, communication, partners. And I can also send this to you in a Word document where you can have it and see the goals, the annual measures here.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great if you could do that, Brent, and then we'll forward it on, or Lori can forward it on to the full board.
absolutely. I'll let it stay there for a minute if you want to view it.
Say that again, Brent?
I said I'm letting you just look at it for a minute before I go to the last one.
Oh,
which
gotcha.
is the staff pillar with the annual measures. Now, the next slide that I'm going to show you is the work that we did at the end of the school year, the 4th quarter. So you can see, is that clear? Do I need to increase that, or can you see that?
Good.
Okay. So you can see each of the annual goals. We asked each of the pillar champions to select one of the annual goals to work on for the end of the year. So at the top, you can see the pillar, the annual goal that was selected. How are we going to know that we're reaching that annual goal? That's a short cycle goal. We call that's the quarter goal that you saw, 45-day goal. How do we know that we're moving towards that annual goal? And what strategic actions are we going to take to reach that goal? So to begin to learn this process, each of the pillar champions took a goal and decided on the strategic action that they would take and how we would measure that progress. And then, as you can see, the stoplight report for you, green would be that we've met the goal, we're above the goal. Yellow, we're making progress, but we're not there yet. And red, we're well below the goal. Because in those 45-day cycles, we're asking the questions, what should we continue doing? Is this strategic action that we're taking something that we want to continue to do? What should we change? And what should we stop doing? We can make changes. We can move forward. The annual goal wouldn't change. It would never change. But our actions and our progress monitoring could change as we move forward so that we can reach that goal. This is something that is internal. This is what the team would see. This is the scorecard, the district scorecard. What you could see is something like this. This is the same thing. It shows the pillar, the annual measure, and then it shows for Q4 where we are. You can see where we ended up on Q4 with our actions for what we worked on. So when we come back together in August, we're going to determine what are the annual goals we want to, what are the 2 or 3 we want to target this year? And we're going to build this scorecard again internally. What is going to be our progress monitoring? What are going to be our strategic actions? And we'll measure them in 45-day cycles. That leads us to this cadence of reporting for you. We, in our August meeting, will determine what we're going to measure, what our annual measures are going to be, how our scorecard is going to be laid out at the district, for the district. We'll report that back to the board in this format so that you can see that. Internally, that first quarter measure, quarter 1, we'll meet to determine where we are, that 45-day measure. And then in January, February, we would, at that second quarter, first semester, report out to the board where we are. Internally, again, March, April, and then at end of the year reporting to the board. So that's the scorecard work. What questions do you have for me?
May I have questions? I have a few.
Yes.
Are you proactively creating the contingency plans, like the backups if those goals are not being met in those timelines? Or are you working with the staff to come up with it once they haven't achieved the goal or gotten close to the goal after a few, 1 or 2
Right. I think I understand what you're asking me. The meeting that we have, the 45-day, where we check out at the quarter 1, 45-day, we actually can meet more often than that to determine if we're moving forward with our goal, because we do want to be proactive. We need time to know when we're taking an action. It may appear for a little bit that action may not be working. So that's why we wouldn't have the conversation. Do we want to continue this action to see if it may work? Do we want to make a change and adjustment? Do we need to do a completely different action? So your cycle, that whole plan, do, study, act that you see there is proactive. That's a proactive action. We're going to take the action, measure along the way, adjust if we're not meeting our goal.
Okay.
Great question.
And then as far as showing that they're showing their progress or lack of, who is checking that? Is that you or leader, or not board leadership, but executive leadership that's looking into that?
Yes, ma'am. The team meets and they decide together,
Okay.
are we meeting our goal? And what do we need to determine? So for the executive cabinet is meeting to talk about the district level scorecard and movement on that goal.
Rick, do you mind if I just add a bit to that?
Sure.
One of the things I really appreciate about the work we're poised to do here with Studer, I think I knew a few things about school and district improvement before we started working with Studer. I mean, I think that, you know, our graduation rates, there's some indication that we were doing some of the right stuff. But what I really, really appreciate is this 45-day cycle, because I will tell you, historically, educators and education in general will have an overarching target, a goal, might be doing some progress monitoring at the classroom level or at a grade level. And then, you know, at a district level, we're just waiting for that summative end of year. And then either we hit it or we didn't. What I really appreciate about this is the intentionality that this is forcing me to have in meeting with my, you know, the full administrative team. And I'll give one concrete example. One of the overarching goals has to do with increasing the percentage of students that are attending school 90% of the school days. There's a clear link statistically between that and academic outcomes, right? We think through our analysis that one of the actions we need to take early on is we needed to audit how we're collecting attendance data and reporting attendance data at the elementary school level in particular. And so we've done that, and we're gonna put some new pieces in place to assure that we're collecting the data in a consistent way across all 4 of our schools. And we think that that's a high impact lever that we're moving that's going to get up. We're going to see some early indication in those first 45 days. When we look at these first 45 days of this school year and we compare them with the first 45 days of last school year and the first 45 days of the year before that, if we're seeing that, hey, this is right now, we're seeing it headed the right direction, we're going to then plan to what's our next action. We've got another action we might look to, or we might just keep doing the same. But either way, we're held to this 45-day stop, pause, share the data at the full administrative team level, decide, are we making progress? Do we need to pivot and be more nimble in our improvement strategies? And again, that's so different from, I think, what education has done historically, and that is set a goal, implement a bunch of change, and then, it's a little more complex than this, but generally, we're kind of waiting until the end of the year to see if we have the success. And I really, really believe this is the next piece that's going to help us move from good to great when it comes to academic outcomes and emotional student general well-being, attendance, parent confidence. The survey instrument that we used with Studer last year was so much more effective than the survey instruments we've used in the past. And anyway, I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to sell you something here, but I'm excited, and I hope that's what you're hearing me say. And I hope that example of attendance on a 45-day cycle helps add some more detail there.
That spark any other questions?
No. That's my hopes. That's my hopes too. Yeah.
Yeah, just comment that glad we're doing this.
Yeah. So we're gonna get a copy of that.
We'll send a copy of it
Perfect.
electronically, and then this will be, part of our conversation ongoing throughout the year. All right,
Thank you,
Brent,
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you, Brent, for.
All right, thank you. Good to see all of you. Have a great night.
take care.
Thank you, you too. Okay, next up, we have communications report, Mrs. Watson. Are you keeping busy enough?
I'm keeping plenty busy. I'm back. Well, this is all just the logo. Remember, we had 300 submissions. All right. I need to share.
300 submissions?
Well, we had
Oh,
300
for
and
the-
some logos,
got it.
yeah.
I
And so
misunderstood.
through different rounds, I have a lot of these papers. I don't know what you're gonna ask me, so I got a little preview talking to Neil today, so I came with more material than. Sometimes Neil's itching for a fight. Okay, so I just wanna start where we started, start again where we started. And just remind you that there's a reason why we wanna change the logo. And it's partly the shape. It's also because we have a new strategic plan. It's because we've sort of held off in rolling out a lot of that work, waiting to have a new logo to go with it. And so this was the first thing I think you told me that you wanted to get accomplished in the first 6 months, this and the website and the bond. And I said, well, everything else waits. We do the bond and then we come back to this. So I've met with Amy a number of times. I've met with most of you a number of times about it. And I tried to set up a process that would help us get to a decision. I'm not saying it's an easy decision. I understand that we all have things that we like. It's not easy. We're picking art and we all have backgrounds and feelings about what it should be. So this is what I proposed, right? Is that we would get some definition, which we did. We submitted a brief. We got entries. By the time they did the revisions, we were upwards of over 300. We struggled, but we did select 4 finalists a couple weeks ago, and then we put those out to the vote of the community. And tonight, I'm really hoping that you can make a decision and choose one. So we started out with a lot. We narrowed it down to 4. We try to think of these as families, right? Because within each one of these, some of the artists submitted a number of things. The staff liked different things than the board. We pulled out a few different times. We also tried to get down to where what we asked the community to do wasn't real subtle. Do you remember how in some of these cases, there were like 6 or 7 of them, and it would be like, well, what's different? The words are curved. There's a sun, there's a this, there's a that. And we didn't want them to get stuck in a lot of those overthinking, because whatever we choose, we can still make refinements. We can still work with this artist to get refinements if we're not entirely happy. But we also know that sometimes when we say things like add a tree, or, you know, we think it should have this, that sometimes that actually kind of wrecks the design, right? So we want to be careful about that too. But this is what we got in terms of community engagement, which is very good. Remember, this was summer and we put it out the 3rd, you know, right before the holiday. So as of today, we had 243 people who voted and or starred or left comments on this one right here, and that averaged 4.4. And I know those numbers are kind of hard to read. It's kind of the situation that Brett had, but we had 165 people who picked that as their number 1. And then 42 said it was their, you know, 4 stars. You know, that's the bar there, the gray bar is the count of how many people gave it that many stars. The second choice, the one that's rated the second best by the community, is the one on the right, and it got a rating of an average of 3.5 with 210. And I think there was like 82 who picked it 5 stars and 35. So you can kind of see these are similar, or these would be what I would consider, you know, your top 2. Does that mean you have to only choose from these 2? No, it doesn't. But I also want to just keep reminding us that it isn't going to get easier to have 300, right, Amy? When we gave you more, it was harder. And it's probably not going to get a lot different if we started over again. But what we can say is if we start over again, we probably won't launch this in the fall. Just the way vacations and the stuff we're doing with the bond, and by the time we get back, you know, we have to have stuff printed and produced. We're hoping to have that in staff's hands when they come back in August. So A is what was the community favorite, and B was the staff favorite. And that was pretty much from the very start. Once we narrowed it down into the 4 to 6 range, this one continuously came up as the staff's favorite. I put them here like this for you just to see one of the questions that we had to ask ourselves, and we eliminated a lot in that 300 that we really liked, right? We were really drawn to them. And we'd say, oh, this reminds us of this or that. And we really, a lot of our favorites ended up being eliminated when we started looking at it through the lens of, what about when we have to produce this? When we put this on a letterhead, is it going to require us to use color copies all the time? You know, and asking ourselves those kind of questions. So I gave you these 2 in black and white and in reverse, so that you can see, you know, like, in my opinion, the one on the right is going to be a little bit easier to work with. And I know, Craig, you feel real strongly. And a lot of the people who left comments on the second one said, is this an insurance? Like, it really brings up Prudential insurance, right?
You know, I got something in the mail from Paramount, because my daughter works for Paramount, and guess what?
Yeah.
Theirs is almost exactly that
Right.
same. It's just, I think it's like Mount Etna instead of Mount Hood,
Yeah.
but it's
But,
the same
You know,
triangular.
so just like we
mountain.
see that too, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because the first one looks better in color, but I think the second one does look better in black and
Yeah.
white.
Yeah. And just keep in mind, you know, we will use
They
it.
both would
We
work.
will
but-
use it, and
yeah.
it can't, all of these can work. We were really thoughtful about, we didn't give you something that, gee, this is just gonna be, you know, there just isn't a solution here. Dr. Mann has said a number of times about A, you know, that it just seems like they're looking at Mount Hood from a different direction, right? Not from the Malala. Like, what if we flip that? And those things are all things we can still do. But at some point, you know, we have to choose. So I there's a lot of comments here. I did print them out. I didn't like put them in your packet, things like trees being included as a must. And that's something Amy said right from the beginning, like there has to be a tree. Several people said, I love the trees. I love that this represents most of what we see. People said that in the comments, and we definitely got a lot more comments on A than we did on B, which makes sense. Somebody else said, I engraved tumblers, water bottles, awards, and so on. In my opinion, A is the more versatile one. 3 components, the river, trees, mountains, people saw that. And remember, that's what was in our original representation. So I'm going to stop talking because, I don't envy you at all. And I also know, like, my favorite didn't get even in the finals. And I think that I'm used to this. So I just know, don't get attached to anyone. But I'd love to hear your opinions.
Question.
Yeah.
My opinion is I'm happy to go with whatever the community wants. One concern that I have though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I think we were talking about this at a meeting, just like the 4 of us on July 3rd. And is that the same day that you put this out to the community was July 3rd? We had like basically a 4-day weekend in there where people were off on their 4th
But we
of
did
July.
get most of the comments right away.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I think that's probably, in my opinion, that's probably too compressed of a time window to expect the community at large to be able to have the opportunity to submit all the input that they want. And that I think
We did
maybe they ought,
reminders, though.
I think that maybe they ought to be given another week or so to chime in. So
Is it
that's
closed?
what I think.
We have to close the poll because
Is
there's
it
only
already
so many
closed?
days. No, I left it open.
Oh,
but
okay.
We're not gonna, I don't believe we will get a lot more engagement. Lots of people shared it. We sent it in the newsletter. 2,000 some
And
people
once-
opened the newsletter.
Once people go through their
Yeah.
feed, it's
Yeah.
way
And
down
we
at
did
the bottom.
reminders. You still have a few days. Like, I don't think a lot. And also, even if more people vote, I don't think your gap's gonna change.
I just have to respectfully disagree that I think
That's
people
fine.
should be given more time.
So I get to be probably hung and slung in the community, but for me, going back out to the community is great, but it's just like any poll, it's how the question is asked. If the question is asked, which one do you like? Well, of course you can spend time and study the piece of artwork and put all kinds of things in your mind with Condren. The reality is when you're talking about logos and marketing and identifying yourself or branding yourself, it's how quickly can you communicate and have people recognize who you are and what you do. And there's a lot of rules in marketing around that design. I mean, and one of those is 60 miles an hour, 0.6 of a second. You have to be able to identify it. And it doesn't matter what all the fancy artwork looks like. That's why those on the right that were tended to be the black and white, small river schools, who we are, what we do, is where I would have to lean. And of course, I guess my background in this would say those are the only ones I could vote for. Because the others, we would be coming back to the drawing board here in another 3 to 5 years, another board. Poor Rob would be sitting through this. Amy and going, we've done this already, but it just doesn't work. People don't know who we are and what we do. And I think we need to kind of stick to those kind of rules of marketing to help guide the community. I'm all for going back to the community with it, but with the premise of the question, which of these identifies who we are and what we do in the quickest, easiest format?
Yeah.
And if they had that perspective, I would, make all kinds of different choices over which do you like better. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
I got that same advice when I was doing my signs for my campaign signs. Got to have a 55, 60 mile an hour font. I couldn't use my pretty font that I wanted to. I had to use
Yeah.
So you can read it and read it quickly.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And what I'm hearing in some of the comments is more feedback. I'm also hearing more feedback possibly around a different kind of question instead of which one do you like best, which could be which one do you like best for an athletic team logo or a race car or a school, right? But which one, how did you say it, Neil?
Communicates who you are and what you do.
Who we are? I wanted to mirror back what I thought I was hearing.
So I guess what I would add to that, Tony, is it's not really add, I guess I'd say it's a correction. I don't necessarily need more feedback, but what I need to know is that people were given an opportunity to give more feedback if they want to. I don't care if, you know, the 243 and 210 stays exactly where they are, as long as that I know people have been given an opportunity to provide more feedback. And where my concern is just that, you know, the email or the social media post or whatever went out basically at the beginning of the holiday weekend, when a lot of people who might have otherwise seen it never had the chance because they're not on their social media, they're up in the woods, they're doing their family things, their barbecues and their fireworks and, you know, all that stuff. I think it's reasonable to, you know, not rush too much and, you know, give it an extra week or something to have that chance.
And then I know it's just me. I had a question, follow-up question for Neil based on something I heard him say. I just want to make sure I understood it correctly. But before I go there, were there other comments or thoughts, Rob or Amy, that you have?
No, I think giving a little more time might be a good idea, but I know we're kind of in a time crunch at the same
You want
time.
more time on the same four? Or do you want to make a change? Because I don't see,
So those were the top two, right?
Well, I would say more time on the same floor. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is more time on the same floor, a second opportunity or a deeper opportunity to provide feedback and ideally around a question, which of these speaks to who we are and what we do, as opposed to which of these do you like better?
Well, I think you don't frame it in the marketing framework that you're actually trying to achieve. Because those were the things you didn't like about the other one, is trying to out of the busyness there is to try to determine who we are and what we do. That's why we decided we would eliminate district. It's redundant, you know, and change the font so it's bold. Why would we change the font to, you know, bold and strong if that wasn't important, that people could just quickly see it and identify Molalla River as this community, and then schools is what we do. So, you know, again, if we're really trying to put something on a letterhead where somebody gets it in the mailbox and then as fast as they're shuffling through, they've identified who this is from. And, you know, then that would be a success in my mind, because I've just been through this process a lot over the years, especially in my previous employment histories. Like I said, I get pretty passionate about it just because I've been through it too many times, and it's always this kind of slow process to me. And I had a very traumatic afternoon one day with a guy sitting there with a timer, and he'd push the button and an image would flash up and give you 0.6 of a second. This was 60 miles an hour. Now let's look at it at 30. You know? So anyway, just part of my anal history of that.
My clarifying question was, you know, I heard you say, was it looking at them in black and white, that was a space where you felt like you would cast, you know, a vote in support of one of them, but I didn't want to.
Well, I'm saying a lot of times in your print media, you can't afford 4-color media.
Yeah.
And that's why generally the rule is always they'll come back. If you can do it in 2 colors, do it in 2 colors. If you can't, you need to probably reconsider what you're thinking. Yeah, again, these are from some pretty high-powered marketing firms from Chicago, and you know they were people that helped design the swoosh for Nike. Okay, so it was the company that actually did Nike's branding back in 1960s. So anyway, it's
so help me with
Simple,
exactly
simple,
what you
simple,
want to
simple.
see from me next time, because we're gonna have to go off of this platform to ask a different question,
So
right? We can't, this thing has great, you know, ability to get a bunch of designs in quickly. But in terms of the survey inside of there, we don't get to write the questions. It's always which ones do you want in there, and then they put their stars and they put their comments. So we have to either make our own survey, which we can do. I'm not saying we shouldn't or couldn't. It's just, let's make sure that we get the answers you're looking for so that when I come back, you can make a decision.
But you could put that verbiage in your post, say it's on social media, you could put it in the, top line of your post.
We could, but I think we would get, they would go and they'd leave that into the platform and they would not see any of that. And if I share it with somebody else, they don't see any of it. So I think we should make a survey that asks them to rate what we want them to rate. All self-contained.
Well, we can, and again, this is where I'll take the heat with the community. Or do we screen
Right.
and or staff screen for those basic premise? Does this quickly identify who we are and what we do? And if we can, maybe we reshuffle that deck and put it back out.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Is
But
what
still, if you're not
we're
asking the
at this
public that
point,
question, then
and you're the
it
ones
probably
who
won't
need
be-
to decide, so we need to decide what the extended process is. Because if we ask that question, a lot of the designs we eliminated need to come back, in my estimation. Right, the ones that had books or whatever, I mean, there were graduation caps, there were other things that were shaped like school buildings. Those were the ones that had something to do with schools. And so I just need to know, at this point, I need you to tell me what you want to see as the next step. Because I don't have any more ideas to offer.
So in the poll, I just briefly saw it when I was scrolling through social media. There were 4 different ones. Okay.
It was the top 4. We just picked one from each family. And we just said, help us choose the next one, help us, we aren't saying we're getting a whole new one. We're just saying refresh, right?
And we wanted to keep it a small number because not to overwhelm the
Yeah.
community.
a couple of those 4, they were still in the popularity, did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Play with font just a little bit here, there, whatever of, the
But-
picture will never mean that much.
But we could choose one and
With regard to
continue
the
to do that
identification piece.
Can we,
also.
can we just put the 4 out there to the public for another week? Make sure we've given the public enough opportunity
Yeah.
to,
We
give
can
their
do-
opinion and then do exactly what Neil has suggested. To look at all 4 of them based on the popularity from the public, based on what we think as a group is the best marketing.
Maybe we need to do that as the board rather than the community doing it with that end of it. Once we see what they like, if we need to feel like that we need to change part of that,
At least the majority of it is what
Right.
they chose.
And it's, at least we are at least have the opportunity to be driven by what the community as a whole has said. But I'm just
So we
not
could do that.
convinced
We could
that,
do that right now. We could take the number 1 and start just working on refinements of that.
right, that's
that
what I'm
address
saying.
what
I
you're
don't
just
think right now is the time to do that. I think the time to do that is like a week from now. Or,
So are you
Yeah.
meeting next week?
no, I'm
To
just,
summarize it,
whatever.
maybe I'm too premature in suggesting, direction, but I think based on this conversation, we've got some flavor. I want to ask Andrea, I heard you say, and rightfully so, that the hope has been that we launch the 24-25 school year after all of the success that we're having, including clarity around mission, vision, priorities, with a visual identity. We've got a new website that's up and it's using our old logo currently. This opportunity really to pull the curtain back. If we're going to do that by the start of the school year, and I'm putting you on the spot, but if it's
By
today's,
August 1st, I would say.
if we got there by the end of July. So I'm wondering if board members, you had other feedback for us, we could take this conversation with the idea that we're going to put out and gather some more voice from the community in some fashion. It gives you enough of a flavor. And then the board's in a position with that information to make a decision, and we'll frame it. I think there is a way to frame it to, of these images, talk with us, or give us your feedback around which ones speak most to who we are and what we do. And I might even suggest and differentiate us from other organizations like Prudential, I don't know. But we
Well,
get that
that's what I
feedback and
think.
bring it
So
back
I
and then,
think we have that. My opinion is
Okay.
we have
So
that.
I think if we needed something by August 1st, I regret I wasn't here like 2 meetings ago when you guys talked about it, but I think you should have started sooner rather than compress it down into 6 days. And actually, it's not even 6 days.
I think we can come back to your work session in July with more data and have it out to the public. Is that a fair statement, Andrea, depending on,
Well, we can put it out to the public. I don't know that you're gonna get anything more than what you have. That's my opinion.
I caution and exhausting all efforts, though,
But-
take those.
I don't know that
weeks.
we are either, but we're definitely not if we don't try.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know if, I'll have to find out if they're gonna be willing to extend or if we have to do our own thing from here.
I have a question.
Mhm.
This was sent out to 2,000 people, you said?
We sent it to all of the email addresses in our parent database.
Okay, do we know
But
how many
2,000
total,
opened it, which is a good number compared to what we normally get.
how many people actually replied to it? Do we know that?
301 responded on the poll.
301 total.
Yeah, out of 2,240 who opened the newsletter.
Okay.
But still,
I was just wondering, because when they did that polling sample for the bond measure, it was a polling number of 400 people. So,
I know, but,
you know, it's just, I was just kind of comparing.
but they're randomly selecting and they're calling you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
So,
just saying,
yeah.
do we have a, you know, a random enough selection already?
I do believe we do.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm happy with the designs that we have. You know, if we wanted to, you know, just choose one and just make our little tweaks on it, I think that would be okay. You know, just adjusting a couple things like we talked about, maybe the font size or, but, you know, I'm perfect. I think, you know, we probably got enough sample size, you know. We might get a few more, yeah, but.
Well, Jimmy and I can go knock on doors.
Jimmy,
We've
got your
done it
running shoes
before.
on or your walking shoes?
It's a little hot. I don't know if they're gonna like being open at 7 in the morning.
So if we were to put out another week, say till next, or could we do till just like next Wednesday?
Or next Tuesday, you know, and then
Yeah.
on Wednesday, we could talk about it.
Even less than a week.
I mean, we can pay them if we want. We'll probably get a lot more responses. I mean, I don't know. All I'm saying is I need you to tell me what you need.
With qualifying information. Or you'll just get more
We have to,
statistically the
we
same.
have
as
to
you get.
start another poll to ask a different question, and we can't use this platform to ask a different question.
Can you just resend the same links or whatever it was that you sent out previously to?
Yes, but that's not saying what he's saying.
No, I know it's
Okay,
not. I'm just
okay,
saying,
okay, I
can
just wanna
you,
make
can
sure.
you do that?
Yeah.
Uh,
We can keep
So-
saying. do
I mean,
it.
I'd love to see you send out something like what Neil's talking about, except that it sounds like you can't do that because this platform limits
No,
your
I can
ability
do
to.
that, just not in this platform.
Right.
We have to create our own.
But when you send out, say like on the newsletter, there's verbiage before are you sending out a link? It's a link to the poll?
Well, we sent out a newsletter that said what we were doing and the link. And then also on Facebook.
But you can say something before the link.
Yes.
So we could throw in what he's saying
Right.
and
but-
maybe last chance to
Yes, we can do that.
give your
But I don't
feedback.
think the answers we will get, there's any assurance that that's what they're answering.
Right.
So in order to get the answers to that, we should set up a poll that asks that.
I think also-
If we do that, it's gonna severely crimp our time on getting
We
it
can do
out.
both. We can
ready.
keep sending out this link and ask the other thing.
I think maybe we just do, send out the questions like Neil was talking about with the links that you're talking about. Just maybe excellent idea, you know, hey, last chance, get your vote in. This is what we'd like you to look for as you select from these. And then we just take the results we get.
Do you think it would
and
be
then
helpful
work it
if
out.
we say rank them instead of letting them rank each one?
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't hear you.
When we make our own poll, we can ask it however we want. So we can
Right.
give this intro and we can also say, we can force them to choose.
Sure.
What's your number one?
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of being able to give them all 5 stars if they want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Would that,
How
I think
long
that's
would
a good
will it
idea.
take to create that poll? Do you do it like? By
today or tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay,
Do you like that idea?
because I know the timeline is compressed, it sounds like, so.
And they have to choose one.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that sends it
Yeah,
up
it
pretty
does,
quick.
yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Okay,
that makes sense to me. Okay,
And then we'd have two sets of data to.
and then
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have more board
draw
members
from.
present when we
yeah,
make.
yeah.
final
When you take on the weight
decisions.
of this, you have more shoulders, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
We appreciate you giving us a
problem.
wide variety to choose from
It shocked me how many we had.
and
And we can
Being
go back to
happy
some of
with-
those if we want, but we,
yes.
but we will need
That's
time
what I'm
to
trying
do
to
that.
say.
I think we're on the right
path with the board that we have personally.
So.
I
in
think the
your work
first two would be
session-
perfect, so.
Your work session will bring you back those poll results.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep,
sounds fantastic.
Okay. Next up, we have financial review.
5-mile-an-hour font.
Yes.
Nice job.
Next time we're on the freeway, we won't get home.
That's true. Let's see. I only have really two updates to share after the copier lease and the Oregon Outreach contract were approved. So as far as like the financial report, the process of closing the books is under the way. My team's working really hard to clean up everything and make sure we're ready for our audit, which starts the end of August. At this time, there's no significant changes to the projected ending general fund balance. We're also starting the new year off, making sure that requests that are coming in are on budget. If they're not, we're addressing those. For the general obligation bond, from my office, there's really no update other than we're staying on schedule. So we have our ratings call at the end of July, so we'll prepare for that and update you after that one. The two informational items are the construction excise tax, which you are updated every year. Right now, the district is using the rates from 2019 and 2020. We do have an opportunity to increase those up to at least $1.67. We're currently charging $1.35 per thousand, per square foot. So we do have an opportunity to increase those if you would like to. And then the last item is just the update to the state school fund. Last time I updated you that they had decreased this fund by 50,000. They've now increased it by 76. So just letting you know that it's a moving target and we're keeping on top of it. This should be the last update they provide to us for a little while. So just to let you know that. Anyone might have any questions? Yes, Craig.
So it says here on this one thing you provided for us, kind of the construction taxes may be used for repayment of capital improvement debt. Can I assume that means that our general obligation bonds that we're going to be selling can partly be paid off with construction excise tax money?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer for you tonight.
Okay.
Get it.
Well, so I kind of have two things I'm kind of thinking about here. I will say one of them is not to markedly increase the construction excise tax rate that we currently charge, but I was thinking we've got money in that fund. Could we use money from that fund to actually pay for something that I feel like the construction excise tax was really meant to pay for, which is growth or development of, new facilities, right? Things that are caused by people moving into or at least partly caused by people moving into the community. So I would definitely be interested to know that. But then the other thing that I would be interested in knowing, and this is probably for another night, and that is how does the board feel about changing the rate that we charge, and by how much? I should say my fellow board members. How do they feel, and by how much, and what impact would that have on the amount we're collecting, and how much of that could we afford to use for helping pay off some of those general obligation bonds for the middle school?
Yeah, I think one thing that could be helpful is I could provide analysis for 23, 24, and then maybe a projection for 24, 25 with the two different rates. See exactly what the opportunity would be if we raise the rates. That'll
I
give you
will
a true
just say,
dollar.
I'm sorry,
That'll give you a true dollar.
okay.
Look into it.
Just for, Amy doesn't know this and Rob doesn't know this because they weren't around when I expressed my pointed opinion about it years ago. That I've voiced previously that I don't really see how non-residential construction impacts our schools unless it draws people into the community to live here. And the construction from that is already taxed by a construction excise tax. So why would we, tax businesses to make it harder for them to come here? So I like having it. What was it? The lowest level is like 50 cents if I remember. And I like having the commercial rate at that amount. But I would certainly entertain a higher rate for residential construction.
My own personal opinion, we're already asking them to spend more money right now anyways. I wouldn't want to hike anymore on top of, already what we've got for this new bond measure. So that's just my personal opinion.
Well, so it's not really the taxpayers that pay this as part of their property taxes?
Oh, it's the businesses?
No, it's not business either. It's essentially, in this case, it's a lot of landlords, right?
It's a fee for every permit that's taken out for building.
Right.
Based on square.
So then what
footage,
happens is that if housing in your community is, like if your community is really depressed, rates or rents are really low, you probably don't want to raise that very high because you're going to make it harder for people to be able to afford housing.
Yeah.
But if the market rent is already higher than, the builder's costs, and raising the rate doesn't affect that much, that all you're doing is just sort of leaving money on the table for sort of landlord profit. I don't want to sound like a radical Marxist here. When you could essentially raise your rates a little bit and not have an impact on your rents because your market rents are already way higher than than the cost to the landlord to develop the property. So anyway, that's why I say that. It won't affect, I'm not gonna.
It won't affect the average Joe.
It
on
won't
their
affect
tax
anybody
bill.
who's already, well, okay,
Oh.
already, well, it will affect people who are already living here if they already paid this charge. But anybody who's been here, I never paid it. Just, I moved here.
Starting rent of a new apartment. Or
Yeah.
new, your cost of your new home that you want to build.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so it does have a development impact even on the residential side, but it's, in the scheme of things, unfortunately, we've had to rely on it heavily to help us maintain the schools
yeah.
because we had such an, significant issue of maintenance with all of our aged buildings that, and we were unable to pass any kind of bonds to update. The community's made the commitment to, provide us an update. I'm a little cautious to just jump out and now, say, yeah, but we're gonna still raise the excise tax. But we still have a significant maintenance load, so I'm a little
Yeah.
torn. Maybe more information coming back, what would be, if we're looking at,
That would be good, that analysis.
this rate on this square footage of previous, it would have made this much difference. That would be helpful information. As of today, I don't think I could vote to change it.
Yeah, and it does affect the homeowner if they pull their own permit, if they're adding square footage to their home. It's,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, I'll keep it real brief. Just want to give a nod to administrators that are doing a lot of work during the summer that is behind the scenes that we don't always necessarily see the work that Cameron and my goodness. Robin, geez, must be a long day. That Tamara and Robin are doing to make sure that summer school is what our kids deserve. Last week, Tam and Robin were also at a reading training with all of our elementary principals and 25 K-5 reading teachers all day, every day, getting ready for next school year. Our high school principal is in Washington, DC this week as part of his service on the National Assessment of Educational Progress. He serves on that board. People are taking courses and really a lot of work's happening behind the scenes to make sure our kids are going to get their very best. So I wanted to say that. I appreciate the hard work of everybody. And forgive me, Robin, for having that freeze brain. And I will be out of district for your work session here in about a week and a half, but I'll participate via Zoom. I'm out of taking a little vacation time with my wife, but I'll participate virtually. And
So we could see the ocean behind you.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah, we want a good background.
I'll see what I come up with. Somewhere on Mars, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
And thank you for all your work. I think our best days are ahead.
Board comment. Rob?
I don't have anything, just thank you to everybody and all the hard work you're doing. Andrea, especially, I know this logo thing, I've talked with you several times about it. I know it's like, you're gonna end up looking like this, but we're gonna try and keep you from there, but thank you for all your hard work on it. All of our team and our new director, our new athletics director left already. I was gonna tell him congrats. Oh, gotcha. So, thank you, everybody.
Pass.
I'll mimic what Rob said. Thanks to everybody. When a lot of people are off enjoying vacations and whatnot. You guys are still here working hard, so.
Amy and Craig, and great job doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Lori's taking time off too. So good for you. Well deserved. Okay. Upcoming meetings, July 25th, work session, 7 PM district office, July 30th, policy meeting, 6 PM district office, and August 8th, business meeting at 7 PM at the district office. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
I don't know.
Second.
All that aside.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, moved and
two at
seconded.
once, right?
All in favor, raise your hand. Meeting is done. Adjourn.
Nice job. Flawless, I would say.
Flawless. I wouldn't go that far.
Flawless, yeah.